Most people think babysitting is easy money. You show up, play with the kids, put them to bed, watch some TV, and go home with cash in your pocket. But there's a side of babysitting most people never see. You're alone, in someone else's house, surrounded by someone else's memories, responsible for someone else's children. And you're the only one there if something goes wrong. Tonight, I'll be sharing 3 allegedly true babysitter horror stories. These aren't about kids acting out or parents coming home drunk. These are about a man who watched children through a playroom window, a house that seemed to grow an extra door in the middle of the night, and a babysitter who got a phone call from a room that was supposed to be empty. If you've ever babysat or left your own kids alone with a sitter, by the end of these stories, you might never look at an empty hallway, a dark window, or a silent second floor the same way again. Story 1. The Man in the Playroom Window. This first story comes from a girl I'll call Ashley. She was 16 at the time, babysitting for a couple who lived at the end of her street. They had 2 kids, a 5-year-old boy named Liam and a 3-year-old girl named Arya. It was a normal Friday night job. $20 an hour, pizza money, easy evening. The parents gave her the basic rules. No scary shows. Snacks okay, but no soda after 8. Bedtime at 8:30. Emergency numbers on the fridge. Right as they were putting on their coats, the mom turned back and added something that stuck out. Oh, and please keep the playroom blinds closed. Liam gets nightmares if he sees outside at night. She said it lightly, like it was nothing, but her eyes lingered on Ashley for a second too long. Ashley just smiled and nodded. The first part of the night was normal. They ate pizza, watched cartoons, played a board game. The kids begged to play in the playroom before bed. The playroom was down a short hallway at the back of the house. Toys everywhere, colorful rug, shelves full of books, and a large window that took up almost the entire back wall. The blinds were already down. The kids ran in ahead of her. Ashley sat on the floor and helped them build a tower out of blocks. At one point, she noticed a thin strip of glass showing along the bottom of the window. One of the blinds hadn't fallen all the way down. She stood up and reached for the cord to slide it fully closed. As her hand touched it, Liam's voice suddenly jumped out behind her. "Don't open it," he said. She looked back at him. "Why not?" she asked, trying to sound casual. Liam stared at the crack at the bottom of the blinds. "He can see us if you do." Ashley almost said, "Who, the boogeyman?" But before she could, he answered. "The tall man." The way he said it made her skin prickle. No giggle, no smile, just serious. She dropped the blind all the way until it met the windowsill. "Well, it's closed now," she said. "No tall men looking in." They played for another 10 minutes and then she took the kids upstairs, brushed their teeth, read a story, and tucked them into bed. Both of them asked for the hallway light to stay on. By 9 p.m., the house was quiet. Ashley sat on the living room couch, scrolling her phone and half working on homework. About an hour later, she heard it. Tap. Very faint, like something lightly touching glass. She froze, listening. Tap, tap, tap. 3 soft taps. Then a pause. The sound was coming from the back of the house. She told herself it was probably a tree branch. It was a little windy outside. But she couldn't ignore it. She stood up and walked down the hallway toward the playroom. The tapping stopped as soon as she got close. She flicked on the light. The room looked exactly how they'd left it. Toy bins spilled over, blocks still scattered on the rug, blinds drawn. She stared at the window. Down near the bottom, one blind slat was bent outward slightly. Just enough that someone standing outside could angle an eye up into the room. A cold shiver crawled up her spine. She walked over and pressed the slat back into place with her fingers. It snapped back like plastic, and the line of sight was gone. She listened for a full 30 seconds. Nothing. She went back to the living room, feeling stupid for being scared over some noise. She'd barely sat down when her phone buzzed. New text, unknown number. Why did you close it? Her mouth went dry. She typed back, "Who is this?" The response came almost instantly. "I liked seeing them play." She stared at the message, feeling her heart thud in her chest. No one knew she was babysitting tonight except the parents. She hadn't told any friends. She hadn't posted on social media. The blinds were supposed to be closed. She texted again. "Seriously, who is this?" No reply this time. She locked her phone, feeling watched in her own skin, and went upstairs to check on the kids. They were both sound asleep. Liam was sprawled sideways on his bed, fist clenched around a little toy car. Arya was curled up with her stuffed rabbit. Everything looked normal. Back downstairs, she sat on the couch again, but this time her legs wouldn't stop bouncing. She turned the TV on low just to have some noise. A few minutes later, her phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. "They're not yours." She swallowed hard. This time she didn't respond. She went straight to the front door and checked the lock, then the back door. Both were locked. As she turned away from the back door, she caught a glimpse of herself in the glass. Her own reflection, and behind it the lamps in the kitchen. But there was something else. For a split second, she thought she saw a tall, dark shape standing near the back fence. When she spun around and looked directly outside, it was gone. She went back to the kitchen, opened a drawer, and pulled out the biggest knife she could find. She laid it on the counter within arm's reach. Then she texted the dad. "Hey, everything is okay, but I'm getting weird texts from an unknown number saying they like seeing the kids play. Just wanted to let you know." No response right away. She took the knife and sat on the edge of the couch, facing the hallway to the playroom. The house felt like it was holding its breath. Then she heard it again. Tab, tab, tab. Coming from the playroom. This time there was no telling herself it was a branch. It was too deliberate, too even. She stood up, knife in one hand, phone in the other, and slowly walked toward the sound. Visual, POV shot moving down a dim hallway toward a doorway with faint light spilling out. The tapping stopped the second she reached the doorway. She flicked the light on. The playroom was empty. But one slat in the middle of the blinds was bent outward. Very slowly, with the tip of the knife, she lifted the slat just enough to peek through. Out in the backyard, near the fence line, she saw the back of a tall, thin man in a dark hoodie, walking away across the grass. He never turned around. He just vanished into the shadows between two neighboring houses. Her phone buzzed in her other hand. This time it was the dad. "That's not funny. We've had issues with someone looking in the playroom window before. Police never caught him. If anything feels wrong, call 911. We're coming home now." She called 911. Two officers arrived and walked the yard with flashlights. They didn't find anyone hiding, but one of them called her outside. Right under the playroom window in the dirt were several cigarette butts, all in the same spot. Like someone had been standing there. For a long time. Many nights. Just smoking and watching through the window. She never babysat at that house again. And the parents later told her something that still makes her feel sick. Earlier that day, before she arrived, Liam had told his mom. The tall man asked if our new babysitter was pretty. She thought he was making it up. Story 2, the house with the extra door. This next story comes from a girl I'll call Emily. She was a college freshman, home for the summer, taking on babysitting jobs to save some money. A woman she knew from church asked if she could watch her 8-year-old daughter, Mia, for a weekend. The mom had to go out of town for a work conference. It was a big, older house about 20 minutes outside the city. When Emily arrived, the mom gave her an extremely detailed tour. It felt a little overkill. Here's the kitchen. Here's the guest room where you'll sleep. Here's Mia's room. Don't worry about the attic, it stays locked. And never open the basement door. The mom laughed it off and said it was full of old junk and the stairs were steep. Emily nodded and tried to memorize everything, but one detail bothered her. As they walked down the main hallway, she noticed a weird section of wall between the bathroom and a linen closet. It was just a flat. Like there should have been a door there, but it had been covered up. The paint was the same, but the space was too wide and vertical, like a door's outline had been erased. She brushed it off. That first night, things were fine. They played board games, ate spaghetti, watched a movie. Mia went to bed around 9:30. Emily stayed up on the couch in the living room, scrolling her phone and dozing off to the TV. Around 1 a.m., she woke up to the sound of footsteps. Not from upstairs. From the hallway. Slow, soft steps, one at a time, like bare feet on hardwood. She muted the TV. The footsteps stopped. The house creaked once, then went quiet. She told herself it was just old pipes, grabbed a blanket and went back to sleep. The second night is when things got worse. They followed the same routine. Dinner, games, bedtime, doors locked, alarm set. Around midnight, Emily woke up again, but this time she didn't know why at first. The TV was off. The house was silent. She sat up listening. From somewhere in the hallway, she heard the creak of a door hinge. It wasn't the front door. It wasn't the bathroom. It was deeper in the house. She got up, heart already beating faster, and stepped into the hallway. All the doors she could see were closed. Mia's room door closed. Bathroom closed. Linen closet closed. There was only that flat section of wall between the bathroom and the closet. She took a step closer. In the dim nightlight glow from the bathroom, she could see it more clearly. A hairline crack running vertically, from the floor up to about her shoulder, then disappearing and then continuing to the top. Like the outline of a door. She lifted her hand and ran her fingers along the crack. The wall felt slightly cooler than everything around it. She took a step back. That's when she heard it. A faint scraping sound from behind the wall. Then a whisper, too muffled to make out the words but definitely a voice. She spiraled for a second, arguing with herself. Maybe it was the heater. Maybe it was a neighbor, even though there were no attached houses. Then the whisper came again. A little clearer. It sounded like a woman's voice. Is she still awake? Emily froze. Mia. Her brain immediately went to the child. She turned away from the wall and went straight to Mia's door, quietly opening it. Mia was sound asleep, breathing softly, clutching a stuffed animal. Emily closed the door and leaned her forehead against it for a second, trying to calm herself down. When she turned back toward the hallway, she almost screamed. The flat section of wall now had a shadow on it. A narrow door-shaped shadow. Like something darker than the rest of the hallway. The edges were too straight to be random. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, nearly making her jump out of her skin. She pulled it out. It was a text from an unknown number. You're not supposed to be here. She swallowed, fingers shaking as she typed. Who is this? The reply came slowly, as if whoever it was taking their time. You don't know about the other sitter. Her stomach dropped. She took a screenshot of the messages on instinct, then did the one thing she regrets the most. She whispered out loud to the empty hallway. Who are you? On the other side of the wall, against that fake door, came 3 soft knocks. Knock, knock, knock. She stumbled backward, nearly tripping. The voice came again, muffled but clearer than before. She opened it for us. That was enough. Emily grabbed her bag from the living room, went back into Mia's room and locked the door. She slid a chair under the knob, lay down on the floor next to the bed, and stayed there all night with her eyes wide open, watching the door. She didn't hear the footsteps again. In the morning, with sunlight in the hallway, everything looked normal. No shadow door, just smooth wall. When the mom came home later that day, Emily almost didn't say anything, but the memory of that whisper kept nagging at her. As the mom was paying her, Emily finally blurted out, "Hey, was there ever another babysitter here who had a problem with the hallway?" The mom's face went blank. After a long pause, she said, "We used to have a door there. It led to a small side room. We sealed it up years ago." Emily asked why. The mom hesitated. "Our old sitter," she started saying, "she heard people talking in there at night. And one night she said she found the door open, even though we'd locked it. Mia was only 3 at the time." Emily felt goosebumps rise on her arms. "What happened to her?" she asked. The mom wouldn't look at her when she answered. "She quit, moved away, said she didn't feel safe in the house anymore." Emily never told her about the texts, but she later tried to trace the number and found out it wasn't in service anymore. As for that sealed door, when she looked the house up on an old real estate listing, she found a floor plan. There was a small room between the bathroom and the closet. The listing just called it Servant's Room, Story 3, The Call from Upstairs. This last story comes from a guy I'll call Jason. He was 17, babysitting for a family his mom knew through work. They had one kid, a 4-year-old boy named Tyler. It was a simple setup. Small 2-story house, quiet neighborhood. Tyler's room was upstairs. Jason planned to hang out downstairs with his phone and TV. The parents left around 7 p.m., telling Jason they'd be back before midnight. "We'll call to check in around 9, the dad said on his way out. The first couple of hours went smoothly. They played with toy cars, watched a cartoon, had mac and cheese for dinner. Around 8:30, Jason took Tyler upstairs, read him a short book, and tucked him in. Tyler asked him to leave the door open, a tiny bit. Jason left it cracked and went back downstairs. At 9:05, the house phone rang. He answered. It was the mom. They chatted for a minute. She asked how Tyler was doing. Jason said everything was fine. He offered to go check on him while she stayed on the line. He set the phone down on the coffee table, went upstairs, peeked into the kid's room. Tyler was asleep. He came back down, picked up the phone, told her he was out cold. They said goodbye and hung up. Nothing weird. He went back to scrolling on his own phone, half watching a movie, lights dimmed. Around 10:15, the house phone rang again. Same ringtone, echoing through the quiet house. He picked it up. Hello. Silence. Just a faint crackle on the line. Hello, he repeated. For a second, he thought maybe the call dropped. Then he heard breathing. Slow, steady breathing. Not quite like a grown man, not quite like a kid. Hello, Mr. or Mrs. Sanders, he asked. The voice that answered wasn't either of them. It was a child's voice. Very soft. You're not supposed to be here, it said. Jason's skin crawled. Tyler, he asked, you're supposed to be in bed, dude. The child's voice didn't respond directly. Instead, it said, He's sleeping. Jason frowned. Then who is this? Silence. Then the line went dead. He stood there staring at the phone, listening to the dial tone. After a second, He hung up and checked the caller ID. The last call was from the parents' cell. This one showed, "Call from upstairs." The label hit him like a punch. He remembered the mom telling him earlier that they had a second phone line upstairs in the master bedroom. He told himself it was Tyler. Maybe he'd woken up, wandered into their room, and picked up the phone. Jason started up the stairs. Halfway up, he remembered something important. Tyler's room was on the opposite side of the hall from the master bedroom. To get there, he'd have to walk right past the parents' open doorway. But when Jason reached the top of the stairs, the hallway was dark and quiet. The only light came from the small nightlight near Tyler's door. His door was still cracked open. Jason could see the outline of the kid's shape under the blankets, unmoving. He stepped closer, listening for any sound from the master bedroom. Nothing. He pushed Tyler's door open gently. The kid was fast asleep, mouth slightly open, breathing deep and even. He left him and went to the master bedroom. The door was wide open. The room was empty. The phone sat on the nightstand on its charger. The little green light was on. The line was active, but the handset was still in the cradle. He picked it up and listened. Dead silence, no dial tone, no breathing. He hung it up properly, then went back downstairs, trying to convince himself there been some kind of glitch with the phone lines. He checked the caller ID again. The last call still said, "Upstairs 10:15 p.m. He tried to shake it off and put on another movie. Around 11 p.m., he heard something that made his stomach drop. A soft voice floating down the stairwell. "He's not supposed to be here." Then a tiny laugh. Jason grabbed the TV remote and muted everything. The house fell silent. "Tyler," he called. No answer. He walked to the base of the stairs and listened. Nothing. He took a deep breath and went up again. Tyler was still asleep. But this time, his door was closed all the way. Jason knew he hadn't fully closed it before. He opened it slowly, the hinges creaked. Tyler stirred a little in his bed but didn't wake up. Jason backed out and turned to look down the hallway. The master bedroom door was now half closed. He'd left it open. From inside that dark room, he heard the faintest sound. The click of plastic, like someone pressing buttons on a phone. He stepped toward it, every nerve screaming at him to turn around and go wait in his car instead. The moment he reached the doorway, the noise stopped. The room was empty. The phone sat on the nightstand. No lights blinking. He walked over and checked the back of the phone. The line had been unplugged from the wall. He hadn't done that. His hands started to shake. He backed out of the room and went downstairs, grabbed his own cell and texted the parents. "Hey, weird question, is there another phone line upstairs? I got a call that said it was from upstairs, sounded like a kid, but Tyler's asleep." They didn't answer right away. He decided to stay near the front door until they got home. At 11:30, the house phone rang again. Every hair on his body stood up. He picked it up slowly. "Hello." The same childlike voice spoke again, closer now, clearer. "Look at the stairs." Jason turned. At the top of the staircase, barely visible in the darkness, was a small figure. It looked like a child standing perfectly still, head tilted slightly to the side. For a split second, Jason thought it was Tyler sleepwalking. Then his eyes adjusted. Tyler was shorter than that. And this thing, its head was turned at an unnatural angle, like it was studying him. Jason squeezed the phone so hard his knuckles went white. "Tyler," he called out, voice cracking. The figure didn't answer. The voice on the phone did. "He's sleeping," it said again. "You're the one who shouldn't be here." Jason dropped the phone. When he looked back at the stairs, the figure was gone. He grabbed his keys, stepped outside, and stood on the porch until the parents got home 20 minutes later. When they arrived, he told them everything. The calls, the voice, the figure at the top of the stairs. They looked more tired than surprised. Finally, the mom said, "This house used to belong to my sister. Her son, he died in an accident upstairs. We don't talk about it around Tyler. We thought he didn't know." She hesitated. "You're not the first babysitter to say they've gotten calls from upstairs." Jason never went back. Babysitting is supposed to be simple. But for these three people, it meant standing between a child and something they didn't understand. A man who wouldn't stop watching through the window. A house with a door that shouldn't exist. And a call from upstairs, when upstairs was supposed to be asleep. If you're watching this while you're babysitting right now, you might want to check that the blinds are actually closed, that there isn't an extra door where there shouldn't be one, and that every voice you hear in the house actually belongs to someone you can see. If you enjoyed these stories, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments if you've ever had something creepy happen while babysitting. And if your phone rings tonight, and the caller ID says it's coming from inside the house, maybe let it go to voicemail.